Yo, yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Payoff Pitch presented by Fantasy Phenom. I'm Kyle. I'm riding solo tonight. Um, Here to recap, kind of give a brief recap of where we are, looking at Tuesday's games and look ahead to Wednesday's games. So, on DraftKings, so the slates are very different on both sides tomorrow. DraftKings is a little odd. We have a 7-game early and a 7-game main. The game that's excluded is Washington, ironically, which is the last game of the night. So Washington and LA, of course, will play again tomorrow, but they are 2 hours later than the second to last game, which is Detroit and Kansas City. So that game is left off the main slate on DraftKings. And looking at FanDuel, let me pull it up real quick here. I want to make sure I have my slates right. Of course, there is the all-day option. If you really want that Washington game, you can play the all-day option, but that's rough with games starting at 12 Eastern and the last game starting at 10 Eastern. So you got a 10-hour gap there. MLB, so the early only is only 4 games on FanDuel. It's the, obviously, 12 Eastern game. Chicago, Atlanta, and it stops at Seattle and Houston, so only 4 games. And then the main is 8 games. You're looking at Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Texas, Baltimore, up until the Washington, LA game. So FanDuel is excluding 4 games? 3 games. 4 and 8, 12. 3 games. They're excluding the 3 middle games tomorrow. So a little different layout on both sites, so I'll try and keep that in mind as I break this down for you guys. Welcome, dudes that are joining the chat. As you guys know, the 3 pitchers that I was heavily on, well, I got off Tyson Ross, if you guys were in the lock show. Yo, Corey, what is up, my dude? Dinelson Lamet got a quick hook today, 77 pitches, and they pulled him in the 5th inning. That kind of bugged me. He actually was not pitching bad. Now, here's where his downfall was. The dude walked, I believe, 5 batters in 4 innings, and that hurt. But he struck out 6 Rockies in 4+ innings. And really, his one mistake was a hanging fastball or slider, I can't remember what it was, to Mark Reynolds, and it was a 3-run homer. Other than that, Charlie Blackmon hit a triple that Manuel Margot should have caught, and Alexi Amarista had a double. That was literally the only 3 hits he allowed in the entire game. So, a little disappointing to see him get that quick hook. I do know that the reason they pulled him is Mark Reynolds was up again with 2 men on, and obviously had already hit a home run off of him. But I would have liked to have seen him at least get a chance to go a little farther. At that point, he had the same amount of points as Clayton Kershaw. Obviously, didn't finish that way. Kershaw ended up having a very respectable game. The other guy I was on was Blake Snell, and he too got a quick hook. He was done after, I believe, 4 innings as well, maybe 5. I have to check the exact stats. But again, man, he was striking guys out, but his problem also just walking people. And that was an inherent risk I took. I knew that going in, that if I were to pick those pitchers, it was going to be risky. But that's kind of the GPP mindset I had on today's slate. You know, it was high risk, high reward. Unfortunately, it was more risk and not a lot of reward. My bats saved me. I kid you not, I legitimately had all but 1 home run in that Nationals-Washington game. So I just got lucky and picked the right bats. I had Harper, Trout, Rendon, Maldonado. The only guy I didn't have was Lind. And so my bats gave me a chance in the slate. I finished 3 spots away from cash in the main. That kind of hurt. I started, the late game started, I was dead last because all I had was 2 Dodgers and Lamet going. And then I had, in the late slate, I kid you not, the Adam Lind homer legitimately knocked me to the the first position outside of cash. So, you know, it looks like a bad night. Didn't cash, but I'm not discouraged by it. The fact that, you know, again, I'm right there. My pick selection is definitely there. I knew what I was doing with the pitchers taking risks. So, you know, had I played like a Clevenger, like I said I was going to, things like that, I would have cashed. But I was going for the win, not just the cash in those GPP lines. So it is what it is. We did have some Phenoms cashing today. Brady, his first day with the Phenom, ended up cashing. Congrats to you, sir. Frankie cashed again. Who else? Jim. Jim stays on a win streak. Yo, so you want to talk about doing it right, right? Jim, I believe his last name is Yammer. Dude started with $2, two $1 bills in his FanDuel account. In the span of 7 days, Jim has amassed a bankroll of $144. He's turned $2 to $144 in 7 days. That is well done, my friend. Shout out to you, Jim. Hope you're watching the show. But that is what it is all about, my friend. And I am more than happy to see that. I love it, love it, love it. And I can't go without giving Dan his props. So Dan started his arcade post today. If you guys are in the River group, you will see Dan's daily arcade post. Let me just highlight the guys that he was talking about today. So he said pitcher, Peacock, serviceable game. Utley Taylor combo worked well. Taylor got stolen base hits. Nick Castellanos and V-Mart. The only Tigers besides Dixon Machado to drive in runs today. They drove in 7 of the 9 runs for the Tigers. One obviously wasn't on an RBI. Dan highlighted those 2 exact guys. This dude, I kid you not, is the king of arcade. He stays cashing every single night on this. If you guys need arcade help, look for the post, man. He knows what he's doing in there. The dude, I don't know how he does it. I really don't. Arcade, I haven't been good at. I just, it's not my mode. But you know, that's a niche, and Dan's found it. So props to you, sir. Keep it up, man. And I appreciate you helping the community, and I promise all they do too. We already got positive feedback, so keep it up, my friend. As mentioned, we got a 15-game slate tomorrow. I'll start off. Obviously, it's 7 games early on DraftKings, 4 on FanDuel, so I'll cut at the Seattle-Houston game, kind of highlight who I would play if I was on FanDuel, and then I'll cut again at the 7 games, talk about my pitchers, and then we'll focus on the main. If you're on FanDuel, obviously I'll exclude the 4 middle games. DraftKings, those are part of the main. So, Philadelphia, Miami, everybody has this game on the early. Definitely looking at some Miami bats tomorrow. Nick Pivetta on the road, not as good. His strikeouts are down. His WOBA is up. His average against is up. His home runs are up. And his xFIP is up. So just everything about Nick Pivetta is not as good on the road. And the Marlins stay hot, especially Stanton, man. This dude is on a complete other level right now. We talk about home run derby affecting batters. Well, it's done the exact opposite of Stanton. This dude is just going fucking yard every night. Sometimes 2. He might go 3 times tomorrow. I mean, the dude is on another level. So, love Giancarlo Stanton tomorrow. I like it. Stanton, Ozuna, Real Muto, no Prado. He's on the DL, so I'll fix that. I believe it's going to be Derek Dietrich, who's a lefty, and then throwing Justin Bour. Nick Pivetta is a very much reverse splits guy. He's much worse versus righties than lefties, so that's why I'm loading up on the righties here. But I have zero issue with, you know, if you want to throw in a D. Gordon or a Justin Bour if you can afford them. There's places to go here. You can pay up to. JT Riddle is a great punt option. He stays cheap, as always. I still think he's underpriced for his upside. Now, I know he's not a guy that gets a ton of points, but he has that potential. He's a top prospect, so I like him. Looking at the Phillies, I actually think Dan Straley's in a decent spot tomorrow against the Phillies. Away versus righties is hands down their worst split. They strike out 25% of the time. It's their worst power split. This is a pitcher's park. So, I mean, everything points to Dan Straley being a decent play tomorrow. He's 9-2 on DraftKings, 8-6 on FanDuel. If you're on FanDuel in this 4-game slate, I think that's where I go and plug him in. I think that would be your cash play. GPP, there's a guy in this next game that I'm going to continue to be risky, man. It's the difference between winning and cashing, I think. And there is a difference. Winning and cashing is very much a difference. So that's where I go here. Chicago, Atlanta. R.A. Dickey. R.A. Dickey against arguably the hottest team in baseball. Julio Teheran didn't suffer against the Cubs. He actually had a very serviceable game. Dickey has been pitching fantastic over his last couple starts. I believe he hasn't given up a home run in his last 4 starts. The Cubs' worst split is away versus righties. Their hard contact is low, 28%. Their WOBA is the lowest. It's under 300. Their K rate is tied for highest. They're a much better home team than away team. Only a 221 average against. R.A. Dickey is only giving up 20% hard contact in his last 3 starts. Like I said, no home runs, limiting fly balls, low WOBA. His strikeouts are actually up. I don't know what Dickey's found, but he has found something. And he is 6'5" on DraftKings and 7'2" on FanDuel. I love Dickey as an SB2 option on DraftKings tomorrow. FanDuel, I like him as actually, I think he is a pitcher option because it's only a 4-game slate. There's really, you got, 8 pitchers to choose from? 16. 16 to, no. Why, my math, it's late. 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah, 16. No, fuck, 8. There's 4 games, 2 pitchers. God damn it. 8 pitchers to choose from. Dickey could be that one that separates you. Nobody's going to play Dickey against Chicago tomorrow. Nobody's going to play Dickey against Chicago. So I think it's a decent play. A lot of salary saving if you want to pay up for bats tomorrow. That could be a spot to go. And then Mike Montgomery, I think, is a guy we can look at playing against, man. I like Kurt Suzuki if he plays. Matt Kemp. Brandon Phillips is hot. I know, Corey. I'm sorry, man. 248. Who do we appreciate? Something like that, right? Brady asks, Dickey for cash SP2 or more of a GPP guy? You know what? On DraftKings, I think he's more of a GPP guy because you have a 7-game slate, so there's a couple more pitchers to choose from. I like a couple guys more than Dickey in cash in terms of a safe play, but I like him from a GPP standpoint as an SP2. Salary savings, low ownership, so things like that. But I don't know if I would plug him in cash. Now, I will say this. Let me pause for a second. A different strategy that you can have in cash is playing contrarian. Now, there are times where you want to bite the chalk. Kershaw would be one of them. But I don't think it's a bad strategy to fade chalk in cash just because they're chalk and it's cash. Because sometimes if the chalk is bad and you just by not having the chalk, you can separate yourself. So there's a time and a place to get out to not have the ownership and chalk mindset in cash. I think it applies to elite plays more so than your run-of-the-mill plays. So I think Dickey is a cash option tomorrow from the standpoint of differentiation. There's not a standout. I mean, Carrasco, I guess, on DK, actually, is a standout ace. So, yeah. But other than that, I think, you're able to play him in cash, long story short. And then, like I said, I like some Atlanta bats tomorrow against Mike Montgomery. He's not been pitching well of late, so definitely can go there. We have Milwaukee-Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is actually one of my favorite stacks tomorrow. This is going to be Starling Marte, who made his return today. Nothing fantastic happened, but he's back in that leadoff spot. He's only 3K on FanDuel. Josh Harrison's only 2.8. Gregory Polanco's only 3.1. You can get a cheap Pittsburgh stack tomorrow on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's still doable. And I think Zach Davies is the place to attack. He's a reverse splits guy, worse versus righties. So I like it, man. I like Marte, Harrison, McCutchen. I like Polanco. So there's some spots we can go here. And then Garrett Cole, he's pitching better as of late, but he still has that home run problem to lefties. And so You can definitely look at the lefties here. Shaw had a really nice game today. Shout out to the River Group for putting us on Shaw. Great play against Nova. Wow, I think he went 4 for 4. So great play with Shaw. But Thames, Shaw, your typical lefties. VR should be back in the lineup against Cole tomorrow. But Milwaukee's not my favorite place to stack. I like Pittsburgh a little more. And then, as mentioned, this slate, I believe. Whoa, never mind. Milwaukee, Houston. This is out of order. Milwaukee, Houston is on the main slate. I am sorry, guys. I don't know how that got out of order. Disregard everything I just said there. There we go. New York, Minnesota is the other game. I'm so sorry. I was just reading it in the order. New York, Minnesota is the third game on this slate. Jose Barrios and Jordan Montgomery. Minnesota is, yeah, they struggle versus lefties on the road more so than at home. In fact, their highest average is at home versus lefties, but their power is not there. They hit the most ground balls at home versus lefties, but they have the highest average against. So, does that mean stack? Probably not. I don't think there's a stack to be made in Minnesota. Dozier, Sano, Eduardo Escobar might play. Chris Jimenez might play. There are some righties that you can play, but Minnesota's not my favorite spot to go. And then Yankees against Jose Barrios. He's been struggling as of late, but his schedule's not been easy. Obviously, he had Houston last time out. I forget who he had before that, but I know it wasn't an easy opponent. So, I really don't hate Barrios. I'm not going to play him against the Yankees. Corey says the thing about Dickey, though, is he's had some good matchups recently. Younger teams that haven't seen many knuckleballers and have high K rates. That's true, man. Very true. Younger teams definitely don't have experience with the knuckleball. Cubs obviously have a little more experience with it, so it makes sense. I can see that. Like I said, it's a risk play, GPP, but it's inherent risk that when you're trying to take down something. Dickey's won a GPP before, or won someone a GPP before with performances. So again, it's just inherent risk. But yeah, I don't think I stack Yankees either against Barrios. So to me, this really looks like a game fade. Montgomery, he's pitched okay. I mean, he's had a little bit of a home run issue his last couple starts, but he has pitched well over the course of the year. So I really don't rush to stack against him, especially, like I said, against the Twins, who are not fantastic versus lefties. I think Sano continues to be a one-off. We know what he can do. Brian Dozier seems to be heating up a little bit. He had a triple today, home run in Houston, 2 straight games. So Dozier's getting hot. Sano, definitely. I would look at them as a 2-man. And then finally, Seattle-Houston. James Paxton has dominated Houston so far this year. I believe he has 2 starts, and both times he shut them out in the length of his outing. And then you have Charlie Morton, who continues to have a fantastic K rate coming off that DL. So he was very erratic last start. I believe he didn't even make it through 6 innings. I don't even know if he made it through 5. But he struck out I believe 9 or 10 batters. I think it was against Minnesota. Seattle doesn't strike out as much, but if the pitcher strikeout stuff is on, it's on, and there's really nothing a team can do about that. So Morton's in play for me. Yeah. Obviously, missing Carlos Correa didn't affect them too much today. Mark loves Morton tomorrow. Okay. I mean, it's worth noting that really, besides Nelson Cruz, the Seattle team is not extraordinarily hot. So I don't hate the Morton play at all. If you're on FanDuel, I think he definitely deserves more consideration because you have only 8 pitchers to choose from, right? And then James Paxton, that's a risky play, man. Hands down, Houston's worst split is at home versus lefties. They strike out the least, however, but lowest average, lowest ISO, lowest WOBA, least amount of fly balls, least amount of home runs, highest ground ball. I mean, everything, right? Across the board, home versus lefties, they just don't hit them as well, which is funny because it's still well above what every other team does in any other normal situation. But obviously losing a cornerstone of their team in Correa for at least a month and a half, and Paxton's history versus team, and his last couple starts have been even better than his season numbers. So he's pitching well. We talk about streaks in baseball. I think Paxton deserves some consideration. And you know what? I think he goes lower owned tomorrow because of Houston's name recognition and what they do versus lefties. And so for that standpoint, I like Paxton as a potential low ownership play with enormous upside. If I find out that Paxton is not on anybody's radar tomorrow, I would say scrap Dickey and play Paxton because there's much more upside in Paxton. I would say there's probably the same amount of risk in both. The Cubs can destroy anybody and they're hot, and we know what the Astros can do versus lefties, so that would be my advice. All right, so now for those of us on DraftKings. Well, actually, let me read. So FanDuel, the pitchers I would look at, James Paxton, Dan Straley, Charlie Morton, and R.A. Dickey is your super GPP play. Teams I'm stacking, Miami and... Fuck. Damn, I really didn't want to stack any other team. So I'm playing DK tomorrow for the 7 games, but I guess... You know what? I guess I would go Minnesota against Montgomery with their righties. I would go as many Marlins as you can against Pivetta. That's my favorite spot of those 4 games. And then I guess Sano, Dozier, Jimenez if he plays, which he should, night-day game. So that's where I would go. And then maybe find a one-off Judge, Sanchez. You know, there's one-offs to be had. But I start my lineup with a Miami stack tomorrow. All right, so San Diego, Colorado. I like two Colorado bats tomorrow, and it is DJ LeMahieu and Nolan Arenado. Both these guys crush left-handed pitchers, and Clayton Richards sucks versus right-handed hitters. Also, as a team, Colorado's highest power splits are at home versus lefties. What a surprise. Blackman can hit lefties at home as well. That's not a bad play. I just would rather not pay $5,800 for him on DraftKings. So 55 for Arenado and 45 for LeMahieu is something I can get behind. I'm not playing Cargo tomorrow. He's just terrible this year, especially for his lefty. I wouldn't be surprised if he sits. You'll probably see Ian Desmond, actually. I wouldn't even count on Cargo being in the lineup. And then this... Call me crazy, man. Call me crazy, but I'm gonna go right back to Coors. I'm looking at pitching John Gray tomorrow. The dude's been pretty fucking good since he came back from his injury. He's dominated right-handed bats all year. Obviously, you know, a lot of the power is from righties here, namely Will Myers, Manuel Margot, Jabari Blash. So if Gray can limit the right-handed power, I mean, the lefties don't nearly have as much upside. Jabari Blash is right-handed, I'm sorry. But they don't nearly have as much power as the righties do. And so I really like John Gray tomorrow. I think, again, he's going to go low-owned as probably he should. You know, call me crazy. I'm going to do that. I'm going to risk it again with another Coors pitcher. Padres have definitely matched Colorado with runs in the past couple games, and they're hot, but they still strike out a shitload, and they strike out a lot on the road versus righties. So I like John Gray in this spot. I'm going to go there. Obviously, that would take me off Colorado bats. Tampa, Oakland. Love Jake Faria tomorrow. Oakland strikes out a ton. Their best power split is at home versus righties. But Jake Faria has done a pretty good job of limiting power. So I like him tomorrow. Now, interesting, Yonder Alonso sat today but came in late in the game. I surely thought that he was getting traded. There were rumors linked all over. But I guess part of that minimized with the fact that the Yankees pulled Todd Frazier. I know that there was a ton of Yonder Alonso rumors. I mean, they very well could still get Yonder Alonso. But I don't know if those rumors start to die down a little bit without, or the fact that they just did make that big trade. But nonetheless, I expect him back in the lineup tomorrow against Faria, who has been a reverse splits guy this year. He actually is limiting hard contact a ton versus lefties. He's given up a lower average against. lower WOBA, lower fly ball rate. So a lot of the lefties here, Alonso, Lowry's better from the left. Joyce obviously doesn't hit lefties well, but can kill righties. A lot of the power in this lineup comes from the lefties. Obviously, Healy and Davis come to mind in terms of the righties, but I still think Faria has tremendous K upside. The A's strike out more than almost one of the highest strikeout rate teams in the league. It's one of the reasons I was on Snell today, and he got strikeouts. He just walked too many. Faria does a better job of that. And then on the flip, Sonny Gray has pitched fucking fantastic as of late. I like Gray more than I like Faria. Tampa Bay has their own share of strikeouts, and Gray, get this, over the last 3 starts, average against him, 106. One hit every 10 at bats. A WOBA against him of 158. Hard contact under 20%. Fly balls 25%. So I mean, he's just not giving up anything. Obviously, he's linked to trade rumors. Brewers and Astros are the front runners as far as I know. So maybe maybe that helps. He's trying to pitch to get out of Oakland. He knows that that's a kind of a wasteland there. And if you can land on the Brewers and the Astros, especially the Astros, man, talk about a team that's pretty much I would argue, a favorite at this point to win the World Series. So definitely pitching to get out of Oakland. And so I like that tomorrow. Tampa hasn't exactly been hot as of late either. And then we wrap up the slate on DraftKings with Cleveland, San Francisco. Talked about Carlos Carrasco. Tremendous K upside, arguably the most K upside on the entire slate, versus Matt Cain, who pitches well at home. I'm not rushing to stack against Matt Cain tomorrow. I hate stacking in this park. I hate stacking against Matt Cain in this park. I hate this park in general for anything's offense. But I love it for pitching, and so you got to look at Carrasco. On FanDuel, I believe he's only available if you're playing the all-day slate, so no thank you. I just don't like the all-day slates. DraftKings, though, you're fucking paying for him, man. 13-4. You're looking at Kershaw price to play Carlos Carrasco tomorrow. I don't know if I can do that, man. I don't know if there's enough upside in Carrasco. I mean, he's definitely a safe play because of the park, but the Giants just don't strike out a ton. I just don't know if the upside is there for that price tag. I don't find myself playing him right now. I think I'd rather play Sonny Gray for like 4,000 less. So that's where I'm looking, man. I don't know if I play Carrasco if I'm on DraftKings. I think I got Sonny Gray is my SP1, and then John Gray my SP2. So for those on DraftKings, the guys I'm looking at, of course, I mean, Carrasco's safe. Carrasco's safe. If you want to play him in cash, I honestly don't think he's chalk tomorrow because of the other options on DraftKings. So I don't think he's a must play at all. I don't think he's the chalk play, that the must have. If he goes off, you're fucked. I don't think he's any of that. Love Sonny Gray. I like Jake Faria. I like John Gray as an SP2. Obviously, if you're including the earlier games, I still like James Paxton as that ownership pivot. I think he goes even lower owned on DraftKings than he does on FanDuel, where you have these other games. And then I still like Dan Straley on DraftKings. So obviously the stacks I'm looking at, Miami is still my number 1 stack. I love the Colorado 2-man. And yeah, this is on the main. Okay, just making sure. And then I guess my third would still be Minnesota. I'm definitely, I hate offense in this park. I'm not going to pitch or stack anyone in San Francisco. So I guess by default, I'm not playing bats in the Oakland-Tampa game. I'm not playing Padres. I do like Colorado. I don't like the Houston or Seattle bats. Minnesota bats by default, like I said. I'm really not rushing to play Cubs, and then Miami. So that is where I'm at for that early slate. Now, motoring ahead here to Pittsburgh. Back to what I was saying before I got ahead of myself. Starling Marte, Josh Harrison, Andrew McCutchen, Gregory Polanco. Very, very, very doable stack on FanDuel. Only McCutchen is above 3-1. Marte's at 3K, Harrison 2.8. I love it. I think you can stack against Davies, reverse splits guy, like I mentioned, worse against righties. So load up on those righties. I think Pittsburgh is a viable stack tomorrow. I have them written down as one of my favorites. And then Brewers, like I said, the lefties I think can get to Cole. So I'm not pitching Cole. There is K upside. right? We know the Brewers strike out a shitload. So there's K upside if you want to risk it. And I'll never talk you off of a play, especially when I pitch 3 guys in Coors back to back to back. So, who am I to talk you off a play? And by the way, I just want to throw that out there real quick. Don't let anyone fucking talk you off your plays. You know how frustrating it is? And I know this because I've done it. There's nothing more frustrating in the world than having a guy locked in your lineup, right? You are hell-bent, you love this guy, and you go in and you're like, yo, this guy or this guy. And, someone says, oh, I'll play that guy. And you take out your guy and he hits a home run and their guy duds. Well, now you're pissed because you're like, I just let somebody else control my money. I can't stand that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not down in the community. I love the community for finding plays and it puts me on guys, but I will never, ever let anybody talk me off my plays. If I'm on a guy, I'm on a guy. Now, I can get on a guy from listening to you guys or vice versa, but if I'm locked on a guy, I'm not getting off of him. I would rather lose my own money than someone else lose my money. That's just a little side rant. It didn't happen. I haven't done that in a while, but I just know it's something that some people get upset about, and very viably so. I would too, so don't do it. All right, yeah. Texas, Baltimore. I think this has game stack potential in it, man. Kevin Gausman seemingly turned a corner and then got blown up. He started pitching better and then just fucking kaboom. Right around 4th of July, too. Just fucking fireworks. Martin Perez, he does a good job of limiting damage. He's not a huge home run pitcher. So I don't know how much Orioles I'd play. I think I go to Texas first. And here's another reason I like Texas. They've sucked ass the last couple games. Been fucking terrible. Getting shut down by Dylan Bundy and Chris Tillman. So nobody's going to be on them. They're going to be a lone stack tomorrow. And I still like them, man. I like the lefties. Chu hit a home run today, leadoff home run. But I like the lefties on Texas, man. I have zero problem going back to them. I just feel like, they're not this bad. And it is this park, so there's upside here. If I'm looking at Baltimore, great call by Mike on Chris Davis. If you guys were on that lock show, hopefully you played him. I said I would rather play Tommy Joseph, so, kicking myself for that. But what can I say? Mike was right. Props to him. Chris Davis fucking destroyed Tyson Ross. Grand slam, 2-run homer. He had a walk. I think he had like 38 DraftKings points, so just fucking went nuts. Shout out to Chris Davis. Hell of a game. And he's still cheap. Yeah, Leroy makes a good point. He is still mad cheap. He is obviously facing a lefty that doesn't give up home runs to lefties. In fact, he does a really, really good job of limiting anything. Only a 17% fly ball rate to lefties, but Chris Davis pretty much will strike out or hit a home run. So if he gets a hold of anything, it has the potential to leave the park, regardless of who's pitching. St. Louis, New York. Jacob deGrom on the slate. He got blown up by St. Louis last time. I believe they had 4 home runs off of him. I believe it was Pham, DeJong, Gorko. Can't remember who else. But he's a different story at home. That last start was in St. Louis. Oh, a little congested. He's got to be in play. He's expensive on both sides. 12.6 on FanDuel. Or, I'm sorry, on DraftKings. 11.2 on FanDuel. You got to look there. You definitely got to look there. K upside. St. Louis is a better road team than home team. So there's that to be said. At least power-wise, away versus righties, that's their best power split. And they've shown that they can get to him. I definitely am not stacking St. Louis tomorrow. I'm not going to roll the dice on them getting to DeGrom twice. But I will say DeGrom is not the top option for me tomorrow. I didn't find myself paying up to him. I actually like Greinke a little more for a little cheaper. So I probably end up fading DeGrom. But I think he can definitely have a good game. I don't have a problem with pitching him. And then Mets stack against Leak. Leak's been pretty bad of late. He's limiting fly balls, which is weird. He's just getting nickeled and dimed, or station to station. Teams are just knocking base hits one after another. I'm not going to stack against him, though. Again, if a team's going to go station to station, that's not a DFS-worthy stack, typically. If you get lucky and land on a home run or, 3-run homer, whatever it is, then great, but I don't know if that ends up being a stack. I'm sorry, 11-2. I said 11-6, didn't I? Now, this is the guy I'm looking at, Zach Greinke, right here. I believe his last start was against Cincinnati. It was at home, though, where he is a better pitcher, which oddly enough, he's a better pitcher at home than on the road. But Zach Greinke's been lights out in his last couple starts, posting over a 30% K rate, under a 150 average against, under a 175 WOBA against him. Cincinnati has no problem striking out. Billy Hamilton loves to do it. Adam Duvall loves to strike out. Suarez, Schebler, all these guys, very, very free swingers. So Greinke is definitely in line to have a good game. It is a riskier play being in this park, no doubt about it. But I like him. He's 1,000 less on FanDuel than DeGrom and 900 less on DraftKings. So not a huge price savings. I just think he has more upside, and that extra $1,000 can help you. So I personally find myself on Greinke a little more. And then Arizona. They went off today. Do they do it again tomorrow? Maybe it's a sign of things to come. I mean, they've been the coldest fucking team in baseball. And then they exploded today. So maybe it's a turnaround. Maybe it's a fluke. I don't know. But they get a good matchup tomorrow against Adelman in a hitter's park. So I doubt you see JD Martinez in the lineup tomorrow. I don't know if everything gets the transaction happens that fast. But if I'd expect to see him tomorrow or the day after, Thursday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. If he's in the lineup tomorrow, then shit, throw him in there. It's a good park, but yeah, Corey just says, wonder if JD will be in the lineup. I don't know, man. I don't know if the transaction will go down that quickly. It very well could. I mean, I've seen shit happen before. I remember, throwback moment here. Freddie Sanchez on the Giants. Pittsburgh was in San Francisco for a series, and he got traded on the first game of the series, and he suited up for the second game of the Giants. Obviously, he didn't have to go anywhere. He was already in San Francisco. He literally just changed clubhouses that night, and he was in the Giants lineup that second day. That's got to be awkward, though. But yeah, so it can happen, no doubt, but I don't know if he's in there tomorrow. Be interesting to see. But if he is, lock and load him in there. So I think he's going to provide a spark too. Hopefully he gets these road woes turned around for Arizona. Toronto, Boston, we have Aaron Sanchez and Drew Pomeranz. Drew Pomeranz is an interesting guy tomorrow. He's been pretty fucking good at home, especially strikeout-wise, 30%. He's been limiting the home runs against him. He's been limiting the walks, which has been huge for him going deeper into games. Right? I mean, you cut down on walks and, smart walks, right? There's a time and a place to pitch around a guy. Unfortunately, control issues aren't smart walks. So he's been better. I like him. I think that there is something to be said. I doubt Donaldson plays tomorrow, actually, so that will change. But I can get behind Pomeranz, and he's pretty cheap, man. He's $7,200 on DraftKings. So definitely an intriguing price for him. I have him listed as an SP2 option with Greinke as my SP1. Sanchez is not a guy I'm playing, but Boston, I hate stacking them, and I don't find myself doing it tomorrow either. Again, there's just not home run upside with him. So not going to stack Boston, not going to pitch Sanchez, looking to pitch Pomeranz. So this is going to be a bat fade for me in this game. Obviously, Todd Frazier will not be in the lineup tomorrow. Well, I don't know what happened there with Kenta Maeda. Not quite sure why all of his stats didn't show up. But oops. Couldn't find him. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll fix it and get it on the sheets after. Anyways. Kenta Maeda does not go deep into games ever. Definitely not a spot I'm looking at tomorrow. Chicago does struggle versus righties, but he just doesn't go deep into games, and that means you get the Los Angeles bullpen, which is one of the best in the game. If they end up getting Zach Britton, that's just going to be game over. Fuck, man. Their 8th-9 is going to be the best in the league, Britton and Jansen. But anyways, yeah, not going to stack Chicago against Maeda. And then Rodon, I don't think I can attack the Dodgers right now. They've won 10 in a row. And get this, 30 of 34. Out of their last 34 games, they've won 30 of them. That hasn't happened since the 1977 Royals. Unreal. The team is on another level. This is reminiscent of... Do you guys remember that stretch with... the fuck was his name? Manny Ramirez, when he had that resurgent year with the Dodgers. Dude came in and, I mean, he just fucking went apeshit and the Dodgers didn't lose. No, that might have been Hanley Ramirez. Fuck, it was one of the two. But they just went absolutely apeshit that year and pulled off, like, the best second half record ever. I don't remember what it was, but I just remember it happening. So they're in that kind of moment right now. So, yeah, I'm not attacking the Dodgers. No, thank you. Can you stack against them? Bellinger can hit lefties, no problem. Chris Taylor, absolutely. Justin Turner's been mashing them. Yeah, I think it was Hanley as well. Corey Seager has no problem with lefties. So, yeah, absolutely. You can stack the Dodgers against Rodon tomorrow. I don't expect him to have a good game. And then last game on DraftKings is Detroit, Kansas City. Detroit gets Jason Hamill, and Kansas City gets Justin Verlander. I kind of like Justin Verlander tomorrow. Both times he's played Kansas City this year, he's gotten 19 DraftKings points, which isn't fantastic, but his price is favorable tomorrow. He's only $7,900 on DraftKings. I definitely look there. I think there's upside. It's in a pitcher's park. He knows this lineup on the flip. Kansas City knows him. I believe Salvador Perez has great BVP off of him, though, so that is worth noting. Obviously, that's a concern. But I like Justin Verlander tomorrow. I'm debating between him and Pomeranz as my SP2 right now. And then stacking Detroit, they are up there with the Nationals, Cubs, and Dodgers in terms of hottest teams in the league. So, Nick Castellanos, dude, is on another planet right now. Well, JD Martinez won't be in there. We can scratch that. Let's just put Mikey Matuk in there for now, and then we'll throw Alex. Oops. God damn it. Alex Presley down here in the 8-hole. Yeah, Sal does have BVP off of him, and it's very, very noticeable. But other than that, I still think there's enough upside in Verlander. Like I said, I'm torn between him and Pomeranz right now, but they're both cheap enough to do. And then Jason Hamill's a guy that I think you can attack. Like I said, Detroit is just mad hot. Cabrera, still underpriced on DraftKings. Justin Upton's down to 3.9. Avila's down to 2.6 on FanDuel. That is too cheap. Kinsler stays cheap on FanDuel. Castellanos is still cheap, so there's places you can go here on Detroit, and I have no problem doing it. And then for those of you on FanDuel, the last game is Washington and LA. Bryce Harper and Mike Trout certainly lived up to that tonight, man. Bryce Harper, home run in the first inning. Mike Trout followed up with his own. Bryce Harper had 2 singles and a triple. What ended up being the go-ahead run at the time with that triple. So Bryce showed up tonight in the bright lights of LA. I expect nothing less tomorrow with Ricky Nolasco on the hill. Now, he, again, is another reverse splits guy. I love Rendon again tomorrow. Hit another home run tonight. Rendon is mad hot. Zimmerman, I think you can still go back there. D-backs can go off tomorrow. Absolutely, man. Like I said, I'm interested to see kind of what they do, but they have the matchup. The pitcher's pretty bad. And then Gio is on another fucking level. This dude, I'm going to say it again, man. I think Gio is better than Steven Strasburg this year. He's been the most consistent pitcher that's not named Max Scherzer. 9 straight quality starts. Play Bryce every day. He's batting quietly 337. Is Meyer pitching tomorrow? Not in Alaska? Did they flip that on me again? They always do this shit. It is Meyer. You're right. Still, Meyer can be attacked. You're right, Corey. Good shit. It is Alex Meyer, not Ricky Nolasco. So, yeah. Meyer can still be attacked. But Bryce Harper, quietly, MVP season in the NL, man. 337 average. He's got the homers, the RBIs. He's got the fucking hair. Bryce has beautiful hair. So you can go right back to a national stack tomorrow again in LA. And then there's no way I'm touching any LA bats, man. I like pitching Gio Gonzalez tomorrow, too. I don't care that it's in the AL. He pitched for Oakland. He knows some of these Angels. I guess what's left of that team. Maven's going to be out tomorrow, so that's not going to be there. That's one bat that's gone. But hi. Hi. I definitely like Washington and Gio tomorrow. So I'm on them, man. So, if I'm on FanDuel, including the Washington slate, the pitchers I'm pitching, Gio Gonzalez, Justin Verlander, Zach Greinke. You got to give a look to Jacob deGrom, and then Drew Pomeranz. Teams I'm looking to stack, Washington, Los Angeles, Detroit, and I'm going to say Arizona. I'm going to say Arizona can have another game, and then Texas. Actually, nah. I'm going to skip. Fuck, there's a lot of spots tomorrow. Yeah, I'll say Texas is my GPP stack. Nobody's going to be on them, so I like them as a GPP stack. And then Pittsburgh, too. For those of you on DraftKings, my top stacks right now, Texas, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. Los Angeles in there, too, obviously because I don't have Washington. And then the pitchers are the same minus Gio. So that is where I am going tomorrow. There will not be an early lock show. I will try and make it back for a main. I am picking up the keys to the house tomorrow. I'm waiting on a time and or place to go do that. And I don't know how long the transaction is going to take. So hopefully I'll be back in time for the lock show. But I'll keep you guys updated. I can just send a simple message in River and let you guys know what's going on. But I'll keep you guys updated, as I said. So make it a profitable Wednesday morning and day. 2 good slates to cash on. Appreciate you guys tuning in, as always. If you're interested in joining the community, that link is right down below. Again, no harm, no foul. Free 7-day trial. And, make it happen. Real quick, Will asks, how much does Vegas play into your decision-making? You know what? Vegas more so validates plays for me. I don't like to look at Vegas until I've got a player pool and or guys that I'm playing. So what I do is I make my player pool, I get kind of my roster, and then I look at Vegas as kind of like a validation. But on the flip, I also don't let it necessarily take me off a play. Like, I won't fade a guy just because Vegas doesn't like him, because Vegas is wrong too, especially in baseball. There's so much variance in the sport. So it's more of a validation. Like, I loved Lamet today because Vegas was on San Diego in the under. Of course, that ended up being wrong, but, it validated that I was already on Lamet. And, of course, that ended up not working, but it is what it is. So, yeah, appreciate it again, guys. Have a wonderful night or morning, and I will talk to you tomorrow.